Yo, what up, guys? So, yesterday I spent like a really good amount of time on this engine with my sensors over here on this side, because in the last video when it started, it kind of was like sputtering and like it sounded like rough, like if it wasn't on all cylinders. So I spent a lot of time messing with these sensors that I have made. You can't really see them, but later on, once I get it all going good, I'll show them more in depth. But there's one down here for the TDC sensor. It was off like almost by 90 degrees or something, but I got that fixed and the car started like nice. It stayed on by itself and everything, but then I was struggling with the check engine light for cylinder position sensor. And if you know that, it's code 9. And if you know that code 9, dude, that's so hard to like get rid of sometimes. But I got it. Check this out. So ECU's all sealed up. That's chilling. I don't gotta mess with that no more. Wait, where are my keys? And the seat's hella back. It's still on the battery only right now, no alternator. But dude, surprisingly, it's been chilling. Alright, look, check engine lights off, and before I turn it on, it'll come on. But now I don't even gotta mess with the gas. Look, hopefully battery still has enough juice. Check this out. Oh, super smooth now. No check engine, nothing. Don't mind that. That was for like a digital gauge I made, a custom one. But I think the heat got to it and it doesn't really work no more. But on the dime, look. Right away. Yeah. So this thing is turned on perfect. So now I probably will take out the harness, redo it, like that way I could get rid of like all this excess and like tuck it neatly. These sensors, I just still have them literally chilling right here. The ECT and then the IAT, TPS. It started reading. I don't know why I wouldn't read before, but I changed the map to like a, not that map sensor, but like the actual map on the ECU to just a stock P75 ECU map, just, you know, just regular. I didn't do nothing. I just straight up base map. I uploaded it and it starts this thing like really good. So this thing's chilling now. Literally starts up on the dime. It's like, dude, it's super nice. My sensors are working like, I think this is the best I've ever had them work, because I had this engine running with these before, but I would get a check engine light like every here and there, and then like it would sputter, or like it wouldn't sound like it's fully there like how it did in the other video. But now it sounds like super clean. And I would always have the dizzy on here back then with the sensors, just in case these failed. That's why I had to disconnect right here. I had a jumper harness. I was able to connect here to the dizzy still. So for a while I was still running the dizzy. But since I had the car here, and obviously it sat for a really long time, I was like, you know what, let's just put this cam seal. Finally fix these, and I got them really good. So I'm cleaning up all this stuff from yesterday. I even had put a dizzy back on it and stuff for like to remake my measurements and everything. But we clean all this up, and then this one's gonna go for CRX Kobe, if I got that right. I'm gonna show how I routed these shifted cables for the B series all-wheel drive transmission into the cabin of the EF. So we'll be back with that right now. Got the car jacked up, and I don't have the appropriate washers for this, but I had spacers on it the other day, and it held these pretty firm in there, but I want to redo that. Besides that, these cables, they're on the bracket obviously, and they run through the back right here. See if I can get light in there. Above the subframe and in between the firewall. Like just the way they curve, it goes down that way. And then I still gotta bolt it up down here. Alright, check it. Down here we got them coming from where I set up top in between the firewall and the subframe. And I still gotta make a bracket for this little mount here. And then on the inside, on the dash, a centerpiece that like comes down and bolts right here to the frame inside. You gotta cut the bottom half off if you want to run the cable through there. So you cut that bottom half off. It's like a 10 mil that bolts to somewhere right here on the inside. Cut that off to allow you to run the cables that way. And right in front of that, I made a hole to utilize the factory CRV grommet. So it's on there pretty solid. It don't move or anything. And then farther up or farther into the tunnel, I have the shifter box mounted. So I just drilled holes in the frame and I bolted it with the stock mounting hardware from the CRV shift box as well. So it has the OEM rubber pieces in there. Got that bolted. And that's how I have them ran, and it shifts pretty good. Let's see if I can show the inside. See the grommet coming in, and then they go through obviously somewhere in there. I don't know if you guys can see them. I would have to remove the center console, but then they come in here to the shift box, and I mean it works good except for that noise. I don't have the mount on, so transmission kind of leans and it hits, but it shifts good with no issues. So that's working for me right now. And when I drove it over here, it drove really nice. It shifted really nice. It felt funny because I'm on obviously some 19s, but it's because the front's 5 lug. I just threw whatever wheels to get it over here. But once I get this mount on there, this won't hit no more. Hitting right there. But other than that, they honestly fit in here pretty nice. I also have the Hasport T bracket. I don't know if the stock one would get in the way right here, but I kind of doubt it. They have a lot of flexibility, so you'll be able to route them pretty good through there. And then since this is a different turbo, I gotta route this around the transfer case. The other downpipe I had made for the other turbo, it was closer to the oil pan, and like it shot out where I needed it to. This one's different. This one's kind of like shooting right next to it. Soon we'll throw a drive shaft in this thing, and then I gotta put the rear trailing arms on. But I gotta buy Gotta buy the bushings for those trailing arms over there. And then swap that in here. So that's pretty much how I have them ran. It's working out for me, so its shift is nice, so I'm gonna rock with it. I'm gonna run it like that. And later on I'll probably get an aftermarket bracket, aftermarket cables, and a shifter box, you know. But I like the stock look. It's more comforting for me. Like, I just want this thing OEM plus, but like really tucked. That's my goal for this. But I'm gonna rock with those for a cool minute. If it doesn't break or if they don't give me issues, I'm gonna stay with those. But yeah, route through there pretty nice. I just gotta make a little mounting tab for that other bracket down there. That way it holds them up and away if I ever put a full exhaust on this thing. Or holds it up and away from the drive shaft or whatever. Alright, so these parts, there's some timing components that I gotta put back. This one keeps the belt from slipping out. And the pin, the keyway, woodruff key, whatever you want to call it. The one I have in there is kind of short, so it has to go through some trigger wheel I have, and then I want to notch this as well so I could go through this. Pretty much I want this long one to go all the way through the pulley, my trigger plate, this, and then into the timing gear at the bottom of the crank. That way it just locks all that in one position, like super nice. But I might do some of this timing component stuff today. But what I want to do right now is I gotta take the ICU out of this car in the fuse box, because on the other hatch, the daily, these are my bumper lights obviously, and I had them converted to where they'll stay on along with the side markers. But on this one I could put the bulb like perfect, you know, the way I converted it. And this one was like that too before the turbo kit. And then now that there's intercooler piping routing through the front of the car, it kind of interfered with the area of one of the back of the lights. So the bulb, I had to mount it kind of like funny. Oh, let's see, it's on this side. Instead of being in there, like this one stays in there, is chilling. This one, I had it kind of sitting in there like that. And it was plugged in. And intercooler piping ran right here. And I think it shorted out on this bulb because it's kind of crushed right there. So the ICU doesn't work no more. So I'm gonna use this one because obviously I don't drive this car. And then I'm gonna redo how I have the light, or isolate it somehow, so I could get the lights working on the car. And then I want to see if they work, if that is the issue, because currently the passenger fender one, the side marker don't work, the corner light, and obviously the bumper light I converted. When I turn on my lights, none of the right front side turns on, so I gotta fix that. And so I'm gonna take the IC out of this one, put in the other one. If the rest of the lights work, that means the bumper one's gonna work as well. And I'll get that done. Alright, so this ICU, you could even get this out. ICU is obviously behind this fuse box. And hopefully this one comes off pretty easy. That way I could get to it pretty quick. That way I could put it on the other hatch, and then we'll pick up on the timing components after I get this installed in the other hatch and get everything working on the other one. Now I'm gonna record it. I just want to do this real quick because that is the daily, and I do need that passenger side to be working because the turn signals don't work on that side pretty much. So anybody that's in front of me, they don't know I'm going right, so gotta fix that. But we'll check this out, take it out, go install it, and then we'll pick up on these right here. Alright guys, what's up? It's been probably like a couple days since the last clip, and I was gonna talk about this after, but I ended up just like for a few days working on the other hatch. I was getting like a fan setup going on it, like a good one where I could also run an intake on the turbo, and doing that because temps were getting kind of high because it's getting a little hotter right now. But now it's time to get back to this. So I'm gonna take the bottom gear off, the timing belt, all the sensors. I gotta take off the valve cover, take off one of the cam gears. But I just want to show the setup and how I'm kind of running it. But obviously I do not recommend like replicating it or anything. But I'm literally just barely testing this, so I mean, it should work fine. Everything's pretty much OEM parts, but just obviously customized to work in different areas. So I'll show you guys that. And yeah, I just want to get this pin. I want to notch this, and then some other component I put right there. I wanted to lock everything, you know, together with the pulley. So this one will go through the crank pulley, and then through that component I put, and then through this. And later on, eventually I could probably get a longer one that'll go through the crank gear as well. But I'm gonna take this apart and show you guys how kind of I came up with the idea to start trying this out. So we'll see what's good. Alright guys, I took off the bottom, and I want to show you guys what I made for the bottom, which is that thing right there. And I kind of want to explain like what gave me the idea for this conversion, and like what made me want to try to make it. And I was just mostly like curious, you know. I was just like kind of just curious to see if it'll run right, to see if it'll like if it'll actually work, or like if I was just wrong, you know, and it don't do anything, like car don't even start. Which at first that's what I thought. Like I had a lot of issues with the wiring and like the way to wire it, but I ended up getting through that, and everything actually like works good. Like I've driven on this setup before in the past, barely coming back to it now. I like want to fix the issues I had with it, which is like why I'm making these videos of it now. Since I got all that wiring stuff like on point, like my sensors are wired like pretty good, and I just want to now like perfect the mechanical areas. So the thing that got me into doing it first was this thing right here, and the OE Honda distributors. So this sits in here on any OBD1 LS or VTEC, you know, B series, that sits in there. Even on single cams, I'm pretty sure I could make this setup for a single cam. F series, H series. H series is really easy, and F. I just don't have a motor here to make it, but I'll get it more into that like later on. But this sits in here, and it spins at camshaft speed. So then I started thinking and then like looking, cause like did a B series like on coil packs with no dizzy, just and actually running through that, it looks clean, you know, like it frees up a lot of room in the engine bay. So I looked at the timing components on this side. I was like, what could I make? Or like some sensors. I would always see the Hall effect sensor that goes right here, the T1 trigger kit, but that's like for aftermarket ECUs. And like in my head I always thought like, dude, I would have to get a aftermarket ECU to run that just to get rid of the distributor, you know. But don't get me wrong, that is super reliable, but like, I mean, this hinge is not even built or nothing, and I just want to, you know, make a clean OEM style B series and just like really tucked, which is my goal for this engine and this chassis. I'm gonna explain it so that like I don't bore you guys, and like that way everybody understands, and you know, it's just fast. This spins once per every 2 rotation of this. This top one, cylinder position. This middle one with a lot of teeth, which has 24. That is the crank position. And then this very bottom one down here, it has 4 teeth. That is the top dead center sensor. TDC, CKP, and then CYP. So this has 24 teeth. And let me get a light. If you have an OBD2 oil pump, you'll know that it has a crank position sensor, which is like located right here on this side. I don't know if you guys can see, but oh, I have a B series right there open right here. Check it. So it has this gear on the oil pump that allows for the crank sensor. It's a crankshaft fluctuation sensor. It's just like on OBD2, it's like a extra signal just to make sure like the timing on the head, I guess, matches with the timing on the bottom of the block, or you know, like just to make sure everything's working right. Okay, so those have 12 teeth. So then I looked at this bottom one. I was like, okay, if I were to split that in half, that'd be 2. That's where I came up with that. Like if I want to relocate the sensor from the camshaft to the crank, since this spins twice for every time that spins once, pretty much from 24 to 12, it gets divided in half. So for that bottom sensor, I made this, and I have it mounted right there. And for this top one, it's 1. So, like, obviously in real life by numbers, you could divide that by 2, but on here, on the engine, I really can't. Like, how am I gonna get from 1 tooth from the, you know, up top camshaft speed, and on the bottom, like, you know, I can't put half a tooth. That's like, it's gonna spin twice, the sensor's gonna read twice, which is supposed to only read once, you know? So I kept it up top. I don't know if you guys can see it right in there. Let's see. You guys see it in there. It's pretty close to the cam gear, but like I said, this is a prototype, and I literally want to make this even better. And then this pretty much is 2, right? For that one with 4, since this one's 1, this top one, the cylinder precision sensor, I have like a little tooth, I guess I would say, added right here to the cam gear. So essentially, I took off the cam gear. On the back side, I shaved off a certain thickness, and then right behind that missing section of that material I took up, I made a template for that I put in there. You guys can probably see it from this side as well. And I bent it to shape. After cutting it out, I cut it out to fit right behind this cam gear, so it slides onto the camshaft like if you're putting on a cam gear. And then that little tooth sticks out. Well, I don't even know what you'd call that, but we'll call it a tooth for now, since that tooth passes on that sensor. But it's this tooth. This one's passing on that sensor I made. So with that done, well, like with that in mind, I kind of wanted to make the setup, but I didn't know how to go about like placement wise. And for the bottom, it was kind of easy. That one was like, you know, pretty straightforward, but this one was kind of hard, this top one. But I got it done. I don't want to go into further detail of how I mounted them, just because like it's probably gonna change, but the sensors won't change, and then obviously the trigger wheels won't change, or trigger wheel in the bottom. I don't know what I'd call that top one. So I still have a sensor up here on the cam, just pretty much essentially kind of hidden on it. Pretty much almost inside the cam gear pretty much. But instead of being in the Dizzy, it's right here on this cam gear side, and as well as the other two that were in the Dizzy, they're now on the bottom over here. And if you have it timed right, then I placed these teeth according to like where this matched up. I matched up this crank one to the bottom crank one with the Dizzy on. So no, actually got that wrong. I matched this and that top one to wherever this one matched up when the bottom one was in like top dead center. So I put the engine at TDC, and on the bottom sensor, the OE one, the crankshaft position sensor, wherever the tooth was on that, I saw it on here, and I like, you know, I don't think it was this one here, but I had marked which one it was, and as I'd rotate the crank, you know, I watched this, count the teeth, and then I was doing that for each sensor pretty much. And I got the placement right, and that's where it started like good in the clips from before. Like after I did that, dude, it's like I pretty much, you know, dialed the setup, and it runs really good. No check engine, no nothing. At first I would get a check engine for the cylinder position, and then I found out what was wrong with that, so I fixed it. No check engine lights with running the setup I'm running right now, but I'm literally just testing it, so I think I'm just gonna put it all back together. I'm not gonna what's it called? Probably not gonna notch it for this right now. I'm just gonna put it back how I had it. So it was this first, and then I had this wheel. It's not notched perfectly, but it stays in place with this little pin, the OEM one, to the crank pulley. And on the crank pulley, I did shave it down a little bit. That way it could make room for this. But I did a little too much. And the snout on the crank, it just kind of sticks out, like not past it, but like pretty flush with it. So everything stays a little loose when I fully tighten the crank pulley bolt down. So I'll probably get another one, and I'll probably get a brand new one, I should say, and then take it to a machine shop so they could shave a proper thickness down, and that way it could be kind of flat. Cause I literally just did it. I eyeballed it with the grinder. It don't shake all crazy. It's pretty straight, but I just went too far, and this stuff kind of like moves in there. But pretty sure with everything new, we'll be good. Like I want to make this new, get the crank pulley new timing belt. That way everything's like dialed in. I don't know if this was stretched or not, but a new one probably would be better. But for now, I'll put it together just how I had it before, but pretty much with everything just dialed in, and then that'll be good. And for the 3 sensors I'm using, obviously the one on the oil pump is the factory crank position one, and the other 2, the top dead center and then the top one for the cylinder position, they're OEM too, just not from the B series. They're off another engine, and I'll go more in detail later once like I know for sure this is like kind of gonna work, and it could be like, I'd say universal for stock engines that are running the Honda Rose coil on plug board. That way you eliminate the Dizzy completely to run coil packs. Obviously, you cover this up. You can just plug it up with the cam seal. But what I did is, off a spare LS head that I was gonna junk, I took off the exhaust cap, this one, and then I just placed it on the intake side. And that way it doesn't have the provision of the Dizzy mounting hole up here. It obviously has a 2 on the head still, but like when the valve cover's on, everything just looks more flush up here with the coil packs. It just, to me, it looks really nice, you know? That's kind of what I wanted to go for. And like just a really tucked setup. Like I want people to look at this thing like when it's fully done. Like look at it and just be like, nah, this dude, like they towed it or something, like it doesn't run, you know? Like that's how tucked I want it to be, like where it just looks just clean, you know? Like if the engine's just floating there or something, but that'll be way later on. I'm gonna get this setup pretty much put back in there. Don't need this, obviously, but I'm gonna see if I can put that cover on as well. So I have the bottom one. I know I have the top one too for the cam gear. But I think I'm gonna leave that one off for now, just so I could still keep an eye on things. But definitely am gonna put this bottom one back on, just to be safe. That way when I do run the car, no rocks go in there and end up ripping my timing belt. So that has happened to me many years ago in the past, and ever since then, timing covers on every engine, you know, like I can't run it without it. It just bugs me. So I'm gonna get all that back together, and then I think that'll be it. Probably get another startup video. That way I can show you guys these sensors do work with this type of conversion I'm doing. Obviously I'm barely testing it, but I'm pretty confident on it. It's working good. I mean, we'll see later on when we street tune it with the boost, and then we'll see how that setup does. Or even just, you know, NA, no piping yet. Like, have the turbo on there, obviously mocked up, but just all motor. That way I don't gotta worry about any, like, of the boost coming in or adding in tons of fuel. Just, I could probably just get it to run right. Pushing no PSI, no nothing, you know. That way I know that those sensors work. Or I could duplicate the setup for a VTEC engine, which I'm pretty sure will be kind of similar. The bracketry would just probably be a little different. But essentially I could make the exact same setup as well and put it on the daily. And I know how that one feels like, you know, because I've been driving it. So I could probably just go do a couple pulls in it, come back, swap the conversion kit on it, go drive it again, and if it feels exactly the same, then I know this works, you know? I don't know if these sensors will probably read kind of funny in the high RPMs, but I don't know. We'll leave it up to the EF gods to decide, you know? We'll see what's up. We'll see if all this works, but I'll put it back together and try to get on the startup in this video. See if we can get it done. One more thing, this new sensor that is added at the bottom, it does fit behind this cover. The sensor fits, this wheel fits. It's just maybe if I make these teeth a little shorter and it still reads, they won't hit right here. I don't know if you can see the little outline it made. Maybe because it was kind of, you know, crooked because of how I messed up on the pulley a little bit, because it's not hitting this other side that much. So it might just be kind of crooked, but it does fit. It fits in here. So, you know, it'll either self-clearance or, you know, you'll probably see that it might not even hit later on, but we're gonna throw this cover back on too with all this, and we'll be good. So I tightened up the pulley, put the cover on too, and this is what I was talking about when I shaved too much of the crank pulley off. It like kind of I don't know if you guys can see that. It kind of moves a little bit. It doesn't feel loose like front to back, but I can feel it. I mean, you can see it no side to side. So on the next one I get, or I might have a spare one of those boxes, but if I get a new one, I gotta be cautious on that. I gotta shave off the proper amount next time. But we got the cover on. Everything looks cool. And then I'll put the valve cover back on. And then we should be good to start up again, I think. Oh, I think I did loosen this cam gear, but no, actually I retightened it. Yeah, we'll get this cover on, and then throw the coil packs back on. See if I can get another startup. See if the battery's still good on this thing. Just gonna put some oil in the turbo because they told me it was blown when I got the manifold, but I feel like the drain on the setup they had was probably bad. So I don't have an oil feed line going to it, but I mean, that oil went in there, so put this back up. And that should lubricate it enough. Just start up. Got the ECU in there. Alright, hopefully no check engine lights or nothing. I'm not gonna put my foot on the gas there. I'll just start it. The check engine wasn't light. The check engine wasn't lit up either. So everything should be working pretty good. Turn it off because I don't want to fumigate myself in here. But it runs. It runs really good. That is solid, dude. That is really solid. Alright guys, I mean, I didn't do much to it besides like kind of just dial in my little setup right there, but I mean, got that knocked out, that's out of the way. I could probably focus on see what I'm gonna do about the balance, get the other ones, put this one in, or if I want to like wait on that, I'll probably get some hoses, do the cooling system and the heater system. That way I could finalize a bunch of other little things, you know. But it's gonna perform well. I feel like it once I get everything done on it. Just like that, man. See you guys on the next one.